Today, we are going to add a seventh pillar to the so-called 6 pillars of mental health, physical health, and performance. If some of you have been listeners of this podcast for a while, you may recall that the 6 pillars of mental health, physical health, and performance, that is the 6 things that everyone needs to invest specific protocols into each day. I am going to just give you a few highlights of each of these pillars right now. Sleep. Make sure you're getting enough quality sleep each night. How much is enough? However much you need in order to not feel sleepy during the day, except maybe the requirement for a short nap. Most people do well to get somewhere between 6 and 8 hours of sleep per night. The other thing that's not often discussed is the importance of having a fairly consistent sleep routine. Everybody should strive, again, that's strive, nobody's perfect, but strive to get to sleep at more or less the same time each night and wake up at more or less the same time each morning. Ideally, you're going to get to sleep within plus or minus 1 hour of your regular sleep time. The second pillar is light/dark. Try to view sunlight, that is with your eyes, view sunlight as early as possible after waking. Whenever I say that, the most common question I get is, what do I do if I wake up before the sun comes out? So just flip on artificial lights as needed until the sun comes out, and then get outside, face east in the morning, take off those sunglasses. It's perfectly safe to look at low solar angle sunlight without sunglasses. And you want to do this for about 10 minutes on non-overcast days and as long as 20 or 30 minutes on overcast days. However, if you find it uncomfortable to look directly at the sun, in that case, what you'll want to do is offset your gaze to, 10 or 20 degrees, which is nerd speak for just a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, and get the sunlight into your eyes indirectly. How much dark you get is also extremely important. Making sure that you are in very dim to completely dark environments for a continuous 6 to 8 hours within every 24-hour circadian cycle is correlated with much better mental health outcomes. Keep your sleeping environment dark. Keep your nighttime environment dim to the best of your abilities. The third pillar is movement. And when I say movement, I mean exercise. We should all strive to get anywhere from 180 to 220 minutes of zone 2 cardio per week. That's movement that allows you to hold a conversation, but were you to do it more intensely or even a bit more intensely, you wouldn't be able to hold that conversation. In addition, we should do some VO2 max work. We should get our heart rate very high at least once a week, doing some sort of movement that's safe for you. So that could be running or cycling or swimming or Pilates, whatever it is for you, getting your heart rate way, way up is also important, and to do that at least once a week. Now, the fourth pillar is nutrition. So the key takeaway with nutrition is to make it quality nutrition within the bounds of whatever sort of nutritional program that you're following. And that means getting most of your food sources from either non-processed or minimally processed foods. Everybody needs to consume sufficient amounts, but not excess amounts of quality calories per day. Now, you may do that by intermittent fasting. You may do that by a more traditional meal scheduling. The fifth pillar is social connection. It's also important to take a step back and just think a bit, maybe even write out a bit, who are the groups and sorts of individuals and interactions that really tax you? Who are the people that you find kind of neutral? And what are the individuals and groups that really provide savings? That is, they tap into the metabolic and neurochemical pathways that lead us to have improved mood and mental health. We all need to strive to limit the number of social interactions that we feel tax or even vex us, that cause us stress. Now, the sixth pillar is stress control. We all have readily accessible stress management tools that work the first time and every time. And these fall into 2 categories. The first category are real-time tools. So tools that you can use to reduce your level of stress in real time is the so-called physiological side. Okay, so it's a deep inhale through the nose, followed by another brief inhale through the nose, and then a long exhale through the mouth. So it's like this. Now, in addition, I do believe it's important to raise your stress threshold. That is, to increase your capacity to deal with life stressors without them feeling so stressful. Now, one of the best ways to do this is to put yourself in a cold shower or other deliberate cold exposure environment. For the first 10 or 15 seconds that you get into a cold plunge or a cold shower, you should fully expect yourself to feel stressed and for your breathing to accelerate. And then your goal is to try and anchor or control your breathing in that stressful environment. It's a practice that's going to translate to a better ability to manage your internal state and therefore your thinking your cognition and your ability to make good decisions under stress. We are going to add oral and gut health as the seventh pillar of mental health, physical health, and performance. Before we get into the to-dos, I think it's very important to discuss the do-nots. The quick list of bad for your teeth, bad for your mouth are alcohol, stimulants, smoking, vaping, sugar, mouth breathing, acidic foods, acidic drinks, but most of us can't avoid any sugars, any acidic foods. The other things can be avoided, but some of us are prescribed these drugs and need these drugs. In that case, after you eat anything, it's a good idea to try and clear as much of that food product from your mouth as possible. Every professional said, if you're going to brush and floss just once per 24 hours, and that is not what they recommend, by the way, but if you were going to do it just once, the critical time is at night before you go to sleep. To my knowledge, the best way to support a quote-unquote healthy gut microbiome is to consume at least 1 to 4 servings of low-sugar fermented foods per day. For instance, consuming enough prebiotic fiber, so consuming enough fiber in the diet through fruits and vegetables, or perhaps supplementing prebiotic or probiotic fiber. If you're learning from and or enjoying this podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.